My guest today is an intuitive soulpreneur, mentor, activator, and healer. She is also a certified manifestation and mindset coach and a certified silent counseling practitioner. She has also co-authored an international best-selling book, Manifesting with Purpose, Aligning to Your Soul's Desires. Through her work, my guest helps women become activated in their soul purpose and start their soul-led business, or reach the next level in their existing businesses so that they can make the impact they are truly here to make and bring in the abundance and prosperity they dream of. As a wife and mother to two young daughters, my guest enjoys traveling and hiking with her family and equally loves being a homebody with them too. Her mission to connect women to their soul's purpose is born out of her love of practicing and learning about all things spiritual, which is a daily practice for her. And in this episode, we talk about intuition, how to connect to it and be guided by it, as well as some of the modalities that are available to women who want to get on their soul's journey via the express route. Enjoy the episode. Hello, listeners. Thanks for joining another episode of the Skin I'm In podcast. I'm your host, Chanel, and this is a place where women can tune in to gain peace through clarity, purpose through inspiration, and the permission to be themselves through the stories of other women. If you're enjoying these episodes so far, click the like, share, and subscribe button so that more women like you can be positively impacted by the stories in this podcast. Welcome to the Skin I'm In podcast, Elizabeth. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm really, really well. Really well. We're just talking offline about how interesting I find your bio and what you do. So you're an intuitive soulpreneur, mentor, an activator, and a healer. You're certified in manifestation and mindset coaching, and you're a certified silent counseling practitioner. And you do all of this because you want to help women become activated in their soul purpose and start a soul-led business, which I absolutely love as your mission. Thank you for doing the work that you're doing. Tell me, what brought you here? Like, how did you get on this path?
Oh, yeah. I think for a lot of people, they just start to feel this calling, this pull towards like something bigger than themselves, right? Or just something with a greater purpose, more fulfilled. My path is not, I feel like, unusual from a lot of people, especially where I live or around, my generation, where we went to high school with, it wasn't for me, it wasn't what, if you're going to college, it's what college are you going to?
Yeah.
And so it wasn't even like an option in my mind to do anything else than that, right? And just following the steps, and I went to school for business, and then I ended up working with my mom in her business for 15 years before I started to get this calling, this pull towards something else, because I was actually slated to take over her company. I like when she retired, I was going to take over her company, fill her shoes and go on, and that would have been great, right? Like I would have been comfortable. I knew the work, but it wasn't something I was passionate about. It wasn't an industry that was mine or that, lit me up. So I just started to feel this call, like, this is not what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be doing something else and helping people in a different way. And so I really just began to open myself up and explore and allow whatever that was to come through. Right. And so through that exploration, I found a Facebook group, it's funny enough, where there was a person in there who was doing soul purpose readings and basically being like, let's find your soul purpose. And I was like, yes, please. Like, I need that because I have no idea what else I would be doing besides what I'm doing now, and uh, basically, we connected and she confirmed something I always knew, that I'm very intuitive, that, I have psychic abilities and healing abilities. And I ended up working with her to develop those abilities because I'd never really had taken the time to do it or could do it, even though I bought the books to develop my psychic abilities and I could never do it. Or I bought the tarot cards and I tried to study them and I never could memorize them or get it. But this was like I was finally ready. My body was finally ready to absorb the information and fully step into that. Uh, you know, try not to make this story too drawn out, but then there's like the next level of evolution where I still felt like there was a piece missing, right? There was still something else. And then I found the manifestation and mindset world, which completely changed my life, like 180, my beliefs, how I felt about the world, how I felt about myself, what I believed was possible for myself, how I acted every day. And I fell so in love with that I really was like, gosh, I really wish a lot more people knew this. Like, I just wanted to help everybody with it. And so I started to coach in mindset and manifestation. And I took the coaching program for that. And that was beautiful. And I loved it. And then again, getting that calling again, being like, oh, there's something else here. There's a piece of this missing here. And, a year later, then finding my light language and developing that and really just combining all of the gifts that I have learned and developed over the years through this process into what is now how I show up and serve the world in this mentorship way, where I'm combining my healing abilities, my intuitive abilities, my business abilities, because I have launched a couple businesses and was in the business world for quite some time. And then being able to really help people find their purpose like I did, right? And just understanding that it's an evolution. Sometimes it's not really like a destination, right? It's sort of a journey, and you can evolve and grow as you go along and finding this true fulfillment in your life.
I am trying to hold back emotions, and I don't know why I feel so moved this morning by all the things that you just said. But I recently had someone on the show, and we were talking about, doing studies that don't stick.
Mm,
And when you're studying something and it's just not sticking, it's either you're not ready for it
yeah,
or it's not the right thing for you.
right.
And I had said to her, like, I mean, I'm an ICF certified coach. I've done so many workshops in the NLP space, in the growth
Yeah.
space, and they've all been wonderful. And I think to myself, what do I do with all of those things? So I think one of the things that I really admire about what you've just said is that everything you've done has taken you to that next level of, you get a calling and then you move on to the next thing. In this moment, I am at like a crossroads with myself in this area, in that I don't know what the next thing to study is. How do you know what that calling is? Like, do you get a feeling? Do you get like a gut feeling that you should do this? Like, how did you move from one to the other? Because and I know that a lot of people listening would probably, it would resonate with them that I just don't know what to do next. So is it that I need to sit in silence and meditate on it? Or like, what would you say to the people listening who do feel stuck and don't know what to do next?
So many things are coming through to me at once. Is like you're talking, I'm like, okay, slow it one thing at a time. Like, let's take it a step at a time, right? Like, first, what's coming up is like, you don't always need to keep like you don't always have to keep studying. I think doing first, like you have the certifications, and this doesn't just apply to you, but like everyone that's listening, you go and take the Reiki course or you learn the tool. So go out and apply it for a little bit, right? Like actually be in that. And I think the hardest thing is taking action and putting yourself out there and almost like coming out of like, this announcing it to the world proudly and without fear, being like, I have this, I learned this tool and now I can go and use it. And I think a lot of that too is sometimes we feel like less than, like, who am I to go out and do this thing that I literally just learned. But the thing is, it's like you didn't just learn it, you actually have had these skills and abilities all your lifetime, like lifetimes ago. You're just remembering now and becoming aware of them again, of these skills, these abilities, this knowledge. It's always been there. So, and there's always going to be someone for you to help, because that brand new coach is, that's out there. And I get it because I was there too. Like, who's going to listen to me as this brand new psychic in the world when there's so many other psychics out there, right? When I first started. But that person that's been out here for years, their clients are not going to be like the new people that are just, opening up to these kinds of things, right? There's a client for everyone at every level. And as you grow and expand, so will who you serve, right? That will change too for most people, not everybody. Some people, serve the same people their entire lives, which is beautiful too. But really having the confidence to just be and do and start using the skills that you already know. And with that, when you're ready for that new thing to study or that new modality, it will show itself to you, it will present yourself to you, and it will be like this thing that keeps showing up. Like, heck yes, right? I'm currently in a certification for Kundalini yoga and other healing modalities, and that's something that's been showing up in my world for a couple of years now. That my body was like resisting for a while, and finally it was like, this is the time, right? But it will show up to you when you're ready. So really, I feel like, first just go out and do. Even if you offer free sessions, like 10 free sessions in exchange for a testimonial, not only will that give you confidence in your skills and ability, that what you're doing and you have the ability to go out and do it, but then now you have testimonials to go to the marketplace with and be like, look, this is the results I am getting people. So there's nothing wrong with doing that right off the bat. So you have that confidence and, those testimonials. When I first started doing psychic readings, I did 50 free readings. And that was like no one said I had to do it, right? I heard it one time or I read it somewhere that someone else did that. And I was like, that sounds like a great idea. Because for me, it really helped my confidence knowing that this is real, right? Like I actually can channel. And so doing that will help your confidence so you can go out and be, and then just allowing, and maybe it's a mentor, a business mentor that's going to help you, step fully into that energy, to that power. And that's part of what I work with my clients is like they get the certificate and now they don't know what to do. They like are so overwhelmed with like, how do I even start my business? How do I market myself to the marketplace? So like that's what I help my clients through, is like taking those first action steps towards living in their purpose.
Yeah, that's a really beautiful way to put it. And I think that sometimes, I feel like there'd be so many people out there that would resonate with the what do I do with this now piece. I mean,
Yeah.
I did coaching for a little while and I was like, I don't know if this is what I'm meant to be doing. I feel like that certification for me was like my baseline. This is what I need to be doing in terms of this was my excavation process. And now I'm like, all right, so what's the next healing thing that I'm actually really interested in? And how do I follow that? So, what kind of people do you get coming to you? And what are they looking for?
The clients that I get are either people that exactly that, like they're kind of like, what's my next step? Or like, I feel like there's something missing, just kind of how I was at. Or they, like you said, they have the certification and they don't know how to start. But for like someone that doesn't know what to do, or they feel like you said there's a piece, there's something else, it really is just opening up and asking the universe for that next thing, right? And that's exactly what I did. And it was as simple as me seeing a TikTok with one of my, mentor, my manifestation and mindset mentor, who she was running a free workshop. I joined it. I was like, I knew like I wanted to study manifestation and mindset, and she became my mentor. And then one call, she said, and I had already started to have those thoughts like, everyone needs to know this, like, this is amazing. And on one call, she said, we need more people to teach this information. We need more people to spread this word. And immediately it was like a light bulb. I was like, that's it. That's what I'm supposed to be doing in this moment. And then I signed up for her coaching certification, right? So yeah, it did take investing in myself in order to move to the next level, but that's not always necessary. But I think really just opening yourself up to receiving the guidance, the knowledge, the opportunity, right? The mentor that's going to help show you what your next step is. Like, you could go into meditation, but you may not get a clear answer, because like I remember I had already was developing my psychic abilities, and I would sit in meditation every day and be like, what is my purpose? What am I here to do? And finally I heard teacher leader. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. But about what? Like, what do I know that I can teach and lead on? Because it's not going to be psychic abilities, because I literally had just learned it. And that's when my coach, had said, we need more people to teach this. And that's when it connected the dots. So it wasn't like immediate, like I got this full download sentence being like, you're going to be, da 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 da, right? It's really following the breadcrumbs and having patience, which I know is so hard to do because that's one of my life lessons. But
Yeah, but also following the breadcrumbs. Like sometimes I feel like I look for the big sign or, the feeling, the whole thing. But I've found that the more work I do, the more excavation I do, the more I get to know myself, the more I create who I want to be as a woman. I find myself picking up on the tiniest of clues. And then I'm like, am I picking up too many clues? Like, are these too many breadcrumbs? Should I not be putting these breadcrumbs in my basket? I'm like, no, I'm going to put it there because just in case I might need it. So
Yeah.
even lately, I think since the last time we spoke, I don't remember if I mentioned this to you, but, or it might have been another podcast recording that I was doing, but in 2021, I had an absolute meltdown. It was a really hard year for me. And instinctively, I went and I bought these oracle cards, these Rumi oracle cards, and I consulted them every morning.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I passed through that phase of my life, I stopped consulting my oracle cards. And that's right, it was another podcast recording, and I don't remember which one, but we were talking about, the things that you do in terms of your gratitude practice or your manifestation practice and things like that. And I'm like, and I had asked my guest, what would you tell people to kind of look into? And what I got out of that conversation was it could literally be anything. So it doesn't matter that wasn't doing my oracle cards for like a year or two.
Yeah.
I've actually repicked that up now. I was like, you know
Mm-hmm.
what? I feel called to talk to my oracle cards again. So I love that the piece that you mentioned, about finding the crumbs, and it really is that intuitive thing. And until you know how to use your intuition,
Yeah.
a bit tongue twisted there, you don't really know how to listen to it. And so that's one of my other really big questions, and the ones that I get from people who do listen to the show. How do you know it's your intuition talking? How do you know?
Yeah. So for me, it's really a couple of things. Like I do a couple of things, but like for me, it's the first thing that comes to my mind when I ask the question. Immediately when I ask the question, what is the first thing that comes to my mind? And it usually, that for me is my higher self. Everything after that is my ego, right? Like trying to like fill the stories or, change what it just came through or whatever it is. And so also for me, when I hear you, that is also for me my higher self. When it's I, right, that for me is like my ego. So I think really it is to also allowing that space and time for things to come when you least expect it. Like listening to those intuitive hits is what we call them, when they're at random times. Because, of course, it could be very difficult for you to sit down and try to meditate and try to receive the answers, and either nothing comes through or you have monkey mind, right? Where your mind just won't shut off. But if you just ask the question, and whatever you connect with, however you connect, you could say spirit, you could say source, spirit team, God, universe, please answer me this question, or please show me or bring me the information for this question. And you might get that just random thoughts in your head, while you're taking a shower or while you're cooking dinner or driving. So paying attention to those times you get those random thoughts out of the blue is your intuition, right? That's not your ego. And if you're not able to like meditate, my biggest thing where you feel like you're not be able to meditate, right? And you can't shut your mind off. My biggest thing and recommendation for that is because you're not grounding yourself. You're not grounding your energy and calming. So doing some sort of breath work before you try to go into meditation, right? Counting out. Like I literally will count a breath where I'm breathing in for 4 counts, holding for 4 counts, and exhaling for 4 counts. Because what that does is it quiets your mind. It quiets your monkey mind. And there's so many tips I can go on about like how to meditate, you know, I shouldn't say better, but how to meditate on a deeper level where you're actually being able to ground yourself and quiet your mind, which I'm happy to talk about. But for me, it's always like being able to be grounded before you go in and asking for that guidance if you wouldn't want it in a meditative state, but otherwise be open to receive the guidance all the time.
It's so interesting that you're even talking about this because I feel like I have all these breathwork things coming up for me at the moment. And a few years ago, actually, it probably was 2021, I went and did this cold dip in winter, and I did breathwork afterwards. And I didn't enjoy the breathwork itself, it made me nauseous. But I did get to, oh, so that's normal. I
Yes, it's
was
very
like, I feel
normal, especially
disgusting.
when you first start. Breathwork is not easy. It's not
Oh, it was
enjoyable.
so. But I remember getting to moment where I was washed over with white light, and tears just started streaming down my face. We were on the beach. It was beautiful. And, but tears started streaming down my face. And I remember just like not crying internally, but I'm like, I'm home. I'm
Yeah.
home. And
Oh,
whatever it was that was calling me, I was like, I'm home. I feel like I'm home. And then ever since then, I was like, no, I don't want to do breath work. I don't want to do breath work. I don't want to do it. It's too hard. It made me sick. I don't want to do it. It's not right for me. But it keeps coming up lately. I keep getting these things come up on my Instagram. I'm like, I haven't searched any breath work.
yeah.
Um, and they tend to be things in the city that I live in, right? I
Mm,
get a lot of stuff from different places because I follow so many different interesting people around the world. But every single breathwork thing that keeps coming up is in Melbourne. So I guess maybe I need to go to one of these workshops, and that's why it's coming up. It's so
yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, breathwork's not easy. I mean, some people love it, right? Like I didn't love it either. And I was like, oh, that's uncomfortable, but it's uncomfortable because your body's not used to it, right? But so much powerful things can happen through breath work. So if it keeps coming up in your environment, just like the Kundalini kept coming up in mine, right? Like it's for a reason.
Yeah. And I mean, I find it so interesting the different types of modalities that people are embarking on and offer in terms of their practice. And I need to know about what this silent counseling practitioner thing is. So tell me, what is silent counseling?
Yeah, so silent counseling is a modality I learned a couple of years ago, and it is basically a form of rapid emotional release. It's a somatic therapy. And so we are finding the root cause of whatever it is that we're treating that in that session. We're finding when it stemmed from, whether it be from your past, the present, a past life, the womb, and where you are storing emotions in your body that is contributing to this issue. So it could be anything from anxiety to fear to scarcity to physical ailments like psoriasis or an allergy or knee pain or pretty much anything. Because what happens is we store emotions in our body because we're not fully dealing with them and releasing them, and then they manifest into physical ailments or emotional ailments or issues. So it is through breath work and acupressure that we are releasing these stored emotions from the meridian points. And this breath work is not that difficult, I promise you. It's just a long breath in and two breaths out. We do it like 5 times on each point. And so, yeah, you can get a little bit like lightheaded when you're doing it. Just pause and drink some water and go back. But for many of my clients, it's such a relief because they're basically discharging these stored emotions, these stored trauma from their body, but you don't have to sit there and talk about it. You don't have to relive it, right? It's just finding where it is in your body so that you can release it and then you can finally heal and move on and be empowered in the different state you want to be in.
This is just crazy that we're having this conversation because I kid you not, for the last 3 years, I developed psoriasis in 2021 because, meltdown. My body is in such a state of trauma, and I miscarried in October. And even though I had done 3 months with Chinese medicine and acupuncture, and my
Mm,
psoriasis has started to heal, and a bunch of things that I had started to experience in 2021, I had healed them. And then I miscarried, and my body just went straight back into shock, and all of it came back, and with a vengeance. So I've been looking at stuff like this, because I'm like, clearly have stored trauma
yeah,
and I don't know how to release it. There's only so much you can talk because I don't know where it is. I don't
right.
know where I'm holding my emotions. I've got pain in my hips, and I know that's a really big one.
Yeah.
And so it's so interesting that you even brought up psoriasis because I don't feel like many people talk about that as a byproduct of, stored emotions.
It is not by accident, but so interesting that that was one of the ailments that just came out of my mouth. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like it's not a coincidence that that came out. So, it really is powerful. And yeah, somatic healing and therapy, which is there's so many different ones that you
I
can
was going to
try.
say, like, how do you know what to choose? Because if you're telling me that there's, it's a version of silent
Yeah.
therapy. I have done somatic therapy before, but it was talking through a bunch of things. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was just like, okay, I didn't know that that's what it was. So tell me about the different types of somatic therapies.
So, right. So, silent counseling is considered a somatic because it's using your body, right? And then there's also somatic movement where, and I don't know if you've ever heard of the witch doctor, but she has a program where this, you might want to look into this, but it is, excuse me, basically she has a hips program where you're doing movements every day for I think like a month, where you're basically moving the energy through your body, like dispelling it and healing, in that hip area, right, in the womb area, in the womb space. So that's an example of somatic, therapy and somatic healing. So really it's like, for me, it's movement through your body, using your body for healing. But the benefit of silent counseling, again, is that like we're pinpointing exactly where these stored emotions are in your body, and we're not having to sit there and talk through everything and relive it to bring it all up again. I mean, you can if you want to, if things come up for you and it feels good for you to express the emotions you're feeling to help release it with love. But I think a lot of that too is, releasing these things with love rather than releasing them with anger or sadness or grief, right? Because that's really going to help you be able to appreciate where you've been and where you're going, if that makes sense.
It does. And I think that, if for anyone who's listened to this podcast from season one, I am not the kind of person that takes the express lane for anything, right? I really believe in sitting in it and healing and like
Yeah.
properly healing. However, I'm in a place where I'm like, give me the express version, please, because it has been 3 years. I am tired. I've tried everything. So, is there a way that once people start doing these kinds of therapies, um, do you teach people to be able to then do this for themselves, or is it one of those things that it's continuous mentorship? Because I think that there's a lot of there are therapies out there where QHHT for example, which I'm really excited. I'm doing QHHT in the next few months, and I'm so excited to connect to my higher self. I've got questions, so
Yeah.
but that tends to be a one-off thing, 4 to 6 hours. Is the silent therapy a one-off thing, or does it depend on what you're trying to heal with the person?
Yeah, I think it really depends on what you're trying to heal. Like I've done a session for a client who had knee pain. We did one session, and after that, it was gone. And other issues she had too, like emotional issues. One session, gone. But sometimes it could take 3 sessions, depending on how deep rooted the trauma is, and if it can't come from a past, like if it started in a past life, because then there's like kind of layers that we have to peel back. It really, I feel like, depends on how severe the trauma that you experienced in your life was. But it's not something that it's ongoing forever and ever and ever. And I don't, it's not like you can go and do it without a certification, I believe, just knowing how to treat it properly and what, because there's different steps that we do, different testing that we do to know when we can proceed and when we can't proceed. What I love about it is what I do teach my clients when they walk away is they know how to use their body to muscle test, which you can look up on YouTube, but like it's a perfect thing to be able to do if you're not being, that's another thing for intuition. If you're not really well at trusting your intuition again, look up muscle testing with your body. You can ask your body yes and no questions. And I use the sway method, which is literally using my body as a human pendulum and getting those yes no answers, but also walking away with a breath work that's going to help you regulate your nervous system on a daily basis if you feel you need it or whenever you need it, and giving you a couple like different points that you can use in times of high stress or high anxiety, right? So it's like giving you all these tools that you can use. So when you find yourself with these emotions arising again, oh, I know where to breathe on that point, and I'm going to do a quick breath work really quick.
I think it's so important for, especially in the kind of society that we live in right now, where I mean, I love a good self-diagnosis, but I sincerely believe in going to see someone who is a specialist to help me move whatever it is once I've done my self-diagnosis. Because I think that once you've become really in tune with your intuition, you kind of know what's going on with yourself. And I've had experiences where, for 10 years, I've been going to doctor to specialist to doctor to specialist to doctor to specialist, and like, oh, there's nothing wrong with you. They do all the tests. There's nothing wrong with you. And I was like, no, I think it's something to do with my immune system. There's something going on. And finally a doctor had come to decide, she finally listened, and she's like, let's test you for autoimmune conditions. And I came up with an autoimmune marker, and I was just like, I've been telling people for 10 years, something's up. So I think that we instinctively do know, our intuition knows if you're, in touch with your body, and what things are happening with your body, and that those things are not normal. But that doesn't mean I can then treat myself. So I love that you just said that. So whoever is listening, there is a place for people who are specialists. And, sometimes I think that it's more important to trust that, especially in these areas, right? I have a lot of distrust in the medical system, the Western medical system. And I have since I was very, very young. I just knew from a very young age, the school system, the medical system, and the government system, something was off about it. And that, they thought I was a quack as a kid. And I was like, well, look what's happening now, friends. So,
kudos to you for knowing that at an early age. I was, quote unquote, brainwashed to society for a very long time. And I'm the outsider now with you, hey, welcome, right? But yeah, I mean, I totally resonate with you with all this, because like I also have autoimmune stuff and went to a rheumatologist for years and took the medication for years, and nothing was working. And I finally asked Spirit, I said, show me a sign if I should stop taking this medicine. And I literally opened my cabinet, and the pill bottle that was a tall pill bottle like this big was knocked over. Which is, not,
that's crazy.
That it was nuts. Like I was like, that's not something that would just happen. I was like, okay, thank you. And shut the, shut the cabinet,
Yeah.
So yeah, there is a time and a place for the medical field. Don't get me wrong. I do believe that there's things that they definitely can help with. My children are both ADHD, and I do give them medication for that to help them, because they're young through school. Totally fine with that. So I'm open to that. But there's other things where you're just throwing, things at it because you don't know what's wrong with you, and we're just trying to help you because I was diagnosed with connective tissue disease, which in my mind was just a blanket statement for I don't know what's wrong with you, so we're just going to call it this, right? So definitely a time and a place for it. But then again, too, you can heal your own body, but a lot of it is your ego is so kind of like clouds your best judgment to actually know what it is and how to heal it. That's why it's like we have all these gifted light workers out there, healers out there that can help you get there so much faster. It's just like hiring a mentor, right? And anything like a business coaching or whatever it is you're trying to learn, you can learn the information yourself 100%, but you're going to get there a lot faster when you work with someone who's been through it, who has experienced all the things and knows can see the things that you can't see, right? And it's like I this is what we can do over here and here and here because it's going to go so much faster. So you want the fast track? You don't want to spend time, then find the mentor, find the healer, find the practitioner, and it will help you get there so much faster.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely on that path at the moment. I think in the last 12 months, especially, it's been kinesiology, Chinese medicine, and acupuncture, somatic therapy. I'm now looking at spinal flow therapy. There's this whole EFT tapping thing that I'm interested in. I cannot wait for my QHHT session. Like I said, I've been working on my questions. I've got 30 questions, and they're separated into 2 different buckets.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm at a place where I'm like, I know something's about to change. So I'm asking, do that work through me. And this podcast is a big proof of that. It was in the works for 2 years, and I was so afraid of speaking up. I was so afraid of talking about my thoughts. Even though a lot of people have woken up in the last 3 years, I had a spiritual experience at the age of 7 that changed me completely. And that's when I started having dreams.
Yeah.
past life dreams and dreams about the future. That's when, excuse me, spirits started coming to me. I feel them in my home. I feel, a lot of things changed for me. And so it was like 30 years that I had to shut my mouth because people didn't, want to hear what I had to say. And now in the last 3 years, it's been wonderful because I feel like so many of us are coming out of the woodwork and
Mm-hmm.
connecting. And when I was talking about and, marinating over, do I start a podcast? And then I finally got the balls to actually start one. And now it's like, this just feels like we're exactly where I'm meant to be. The conversations I'm meant to be having. Like, today is another example of just how the universe works. And these are exactly the things that I need to hear right now. And I'm sure there are people listening who feel the same. What is it that keeps you going in this line of work? Because there is still so much resistance to, light workers and
Yeah.
healers and things like that. So what is it that keeps you going in your line of work? What's that North Star for
Hmm.
you?
There's a couple things really. I mean, the fact that I was given these gifts and this purpose, like I just always go back to that. Like you were given this calling for a reason. And really being able to connect with that on a deeper level has not always been easy for me, right? Because it's a kind of like it sounds cliche, but like save the world kind of mission, like purpose. Because essentially, when I was like, why am I doing this? When I was really discovering this next level of my purpose of helping other people activate their soul purpose so that they can go out and help other people as well, so that we can help raise the vibration of the world so we don't like the world doesn't end. Essentially, is what came to me. And I was like, that's a huge like cliche kind of like meaning, like, or mission, I guess, but like
I love
it's
it though.
but right, but like really like that's what, came to me. But being able to connect with that on a deep level took me a little bit of time, right? But when I work with people, and even if it's one light worker at a time, that I'm seeing that I'm helping them develop their gifts and strengthen their gifts and awaken more and more of their soul gifts. And then they go out and help other people. Like it's just creating the ripple effect. So while I'm not really here to help the masses, like I don't see myself, teaching in front of like thousands and thousands of people on a stage where I'm helping those people who are meant to go and, have the millions of followers, right? And help all the other people creating this ripple effect, right? So it's really that is one thing that keeps me going. And then it's being able to experience this level of fulfillment and a better life at the same time. Like, after all, we did come here to be human, right? Like, we did choose to come here to live this human life. And so, I want to, while I'm here, I want to experience a really damn good life. Like, I want to experience all this world has to offer. I want to see the world. I want to be able to enjoy my life and live in ease and flow. And I do that through being able to be my own boss, right? Like set my own hours, be there for my kids when they need me there, right? Not spending my life in a job that unfulfills me and is just being in the rat race. Like, I don't think I could ever go back to that now. Um, so like it's so many things that keep me going, but really it's that purpose, that feeling of being fulfilled, and like showing my kids too that you don't have to do this traditional way that everyone, society thinks you need to do, right? That's how I grew up, was this is the things you do. And but you don't have to. You get to choose what is best for you. And most important, like I just had a conversation with my daughter yesterday where my 12-year-old, and she was telling me, I believe, this and this and this. And it wasn't exactly what I believe it, but I was like, that's okay. If that's what you want to choose to believe, that's perfectly fine. I don't really believe that. And this is what I believe, but whatever you believe is, is a okay. And for me, like in that moment, I was like, gosh, like I'm really doing this on a different level, right? Because I was raised Catholic. So I was like, this is what you are. This is what you are to believe. These are the rules. This is how you're supposed to behave. And there's nothing else that, is the truth. Right. And now, we're bringing up this generation of every belief is okay. There's no right or wrong.
That takes some I don't even know the word. I'm not a mum to human babies. I've got two fur babies, but I think to myself, that takes some growth, is what I'm going to say, to be able to say, you know what? You believe what you want to believe, and that's okay. And what a beautiful thing, though, too, that you're teaching your kids that they can have their own beliefs, and
Mhm.
then they can then create whatever they want in their lives. That's so important. I don't think a lot of parents realize that.
No, no.
What do you think of the state of the world then now? Because there's a lot of, dark stuff going on, but I feel like there's a lot of light.
Yes.
What comes up for you when you think of right now and our future?
So I think this is another reason I got into this work in the very beginning with the mindset and the manifestation, because yes, there's a lot of, lower energy and turmoil going on in the world, right? But it's almost like you can't help the poor by being poor, right? So the more that we can spread love and the more that we can spread abundance is going to be better for the world as a whole. So, because I truly believe we're all connected and that our energies can all be felt to other humans, right? So if I am sitting here and spreading love, instead of paying attention to all the sadness, the grief, and all the turmoil that's going on in the world, well, of course, yes, I am aware of it and I send love and empathy, but I don't allow it to affect my inner being. I don't allow it to worry me. I don't allow it to stress me out. I don't take it on as my own, but instead, I'm going to combat that with more love and I'm going to send out more healing and more loving energy to all those around the world that are suffering, or even specific people that I know that might be in pain at the moment, right? I send them love immediately. I send them healing energy immediately. Because the more people that and this is part of my mission, like the more light workers there are that are doing this kind of work, the higher the vibration of the world will become. And then there won't be as much crime. There won't be as much turmoil because a lot of this all is man made because of lower vibrational thinking and feeling, right? So the more we can all come from love instead of judgment, and we can help each other instead of being against each other, it literally is going to, like, going back to creating that ripple effect of raising the vibration of the world, and we will be a better place. So that's kind of how I look at it. And I just heard this on a training this morning where it was, the more beauty you can see, the more beauty will unfold, even in the darkest times. So always trying to look for the silver lining, always trying to, look at the positives, or what is this trying to teach me, right? Why is this happening for us? And if you can't see that, if you can't feel it, and you're in this dark time, ask spirit, ask God, ask source, universe to help you see the light. Help me see the beauty again. Because right now I can't see it, but I know I don't want to feel like this. So how can I see the beauty and be open to receive that guidance, that information, the light, and it will come to you.
I don't remember where this study was done, but it's come up for me while you were talking because I feel like there, and this is throughout history. This isn't just in this timeline. There have been many timelines, and there is always going to be. Look, I'm like you. I believe that the light will prevail. I
Yes.
think that where you put your energy, that's where that's what will manifest in your life. And there was this study done of inmates in like this high security prison where they changed their diets. They did like, giving them really crap food to see how
Hmm.
their behavior was. And then they changed their diet, cleaned up their diet, gave them fish oil, and saw a remarkable change in the
Hmm.
reduction of aggression, for instance,
Hmm.
and mental disorders and things like that. And I find things like that so interesting because there are always going to be people who invest in poisoning our food, poisoning the air, poisoning us with whatever medicines, poisoning us with all the things, poisoning our minds, like things like music. I remember music when I was a kid, it was so different. It was
Oh,
so
yeah.
different. It
Oh, my
didn't
God.
feel demonic. It feels really demonic now. I can't listen to anything that's been released in the last 10 years. My brain just shuts off.
Right.
So they'll
Yeah.
find ways to, poison us spiritually, mentally, emotionally, And there are others like you who are working to detox that for people. And I think that that's such a beautiful way to live your life. And, you're helping people, detox themselves from, trauma and emotion, and to be able to, regulate their systems, to be able to manifest their soul purpose. And I think to myself, what did you wish you knew sooner?
That we create our own reality.
Mm,
100%. That we create our own experience and we get to choose how we feel. I think that's the biggest thing, right? And we don't have to allow other people, like, no one is really making us feel a certain way. We are
yeah.
choosing to feel that way, which my kids throw in my face all the time because,
Yes, they're
I
your
mean, like,
greatest teachers, right?
right? Like, I've said it to them before and, trying to teach them. And I say, you're really frustrating me right now. And they're like, no, I'm not frustrated. Like, you're choosing to feel that way. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
why? Like, but yes, you're 100% right. I am choosing to feel this way. So knowing that everything is a choice, how you feel, how you respond, what you believe to be true is all a choice. And yes, it's difficult to choose the higher vibrational feeling and emotion, or to remain neutral when something that doesn't feel good comes into your life. Yeah, it's not easy, but it does feel so much better to not be in anger all day long, right? Rather than just to let it go and to decide, is this worth it? Is this worth the anger? Is it worth yelling at this person to go see the manager because I didn't get my way, because is a reformed, let me see your manager type of person. Like, honestly, I used to be that person that was like, I want my way and I'm going to fight you until I get it. Like, and now I try as much as possible. Once in a while, it doesn't, it still comes through where I'm getting frustrated, and, I try to come from more compassion and love and understanding that, and trusting that it's all going to work out. Right. So, and even like, something that came through was, you were talking about the prison, was there was another study done in Washington, D.C. in the 90s, where this group of people came together. I forgot how many people it was. I think it was a couple hundred people came together every day and, meditated in sending love to the city of Washington, D.C. for 30 days with the hope of reducing crime. And the police chief was like, that's never going to happen. It's summer. Crime actually raises in summertime, right? Well, they did this for like 30 days. And within the summer, like, crime reduced by 28%, which is unheard of. That never happened, right? Just showing you that, like, how energy works and how connected we really are. And with intention, we can all help each other, and we really can, with intention, change the projection of the world, like what's happening and everything like that. And some systems, what, I think, believing that it's happening for a reason, some systems maybe do need to come down so we can rebuild a better foundation, right? And it doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It might actually be a good thing.
There's something to be said for people coming together. I think
Mm-hmm.
that there's something really powerful in that. And it's one of the things that sits with me a lot when I get when I'm in moments of, I feel a little down and out. I'm like, why do they try to separate us so much?
Yeah.
And I think that it's that power that we have, that once we do come together, and what happens with our energies, and then when those energies are projected, and what happens to the vibration. And it's almost like those who are impacted by it, they're being touched by God or source or universe, whatever it is that you want to call it, whatever you believe in. But I really believe that there is an element of being touched by the divine in those moments. So when you think of the legacy that you want to leave behind with your work, what do you think that is for you?
That's a really good question. Um, I never actually really thought about that, other than making an impact, right? Making an impact on the world where I've helped people in a way where they feel spiritually enlightened, and they've been able to create a life that they truly love, and they can say they lived, right? They lived a full life. So really, for me, it is twofold. It's like I feel like I have two purposes on this earth, is to really, live my mission, live my purpose, be fulfilled, and help others do that as well. Right? Like help others understand that they can live an abundant life, that they can have a life that they love while helping others. It doesn't have to be, either or. It could be and. So, like, that for me is, I feel like, the legacy I want to leave and just the impact. And like I said, I don't feel like I'm someone to be here that like I'm known all around the world. Like, I'm not an Esther Hicks, kind of thing where everyone, knows who Esther is. But that's okay. Like, I don't, and who knows, maybe I will be one day. But for right now, in this moment, like, I feel like for me, it's more impactful to reach people on a, more intimate basis, so I can do that deep inner work with them and really like in the nitty gritty, the transformation. And that way they can go and help other people do, in their work and everything like that. That's where I am right now in the moment. A year from now, it may completely change, but I'm open to that and ready to whatever spirit wants me to do.
I really admire that. And it was something that was sitting with me when you said it earlier. Like, you're not the one that wants to. I don't know if you said this or if I was thinking that you said that, to have the million followers or to be on the
Right.
stage, you want to be the person who impacts the people that are meant to do those things. And I think in the life that we live in, everyone wants to be the person on the stage with a million followers.
Yeah.
And it's really important that we have people like you, the people in the background, the people who are helping those people. Because I don't think that people recognize, like, even think people like, Tony Robbins or Oprah Winfrey or anyone who's, been impactful in that kind of space.
Yeah.
Um, they have people in the background. They have their coaches, they have their psychologists, they have there's always a team around those people. And those people are essential in ensuring that they can bring what they bring on the stage. They can bring what they bring on the screen. They
Yeah.
can bring what they bring in their books. And so it's essential that those people exist, because that is building a legacy too. It doesn't have to be a legacy in front of everybody. So I really admire that you know what your place is right now in this moment, and that it's not to be that,
Yeah.
and it's not something that you sit here and are like, oh, I wish that that was me. You know who you are. And there's really something quite profound about that, because I don't come across people like that very often, Elizabeth. So
Yeah.
I love that that's your thing. And I really admire that about you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's easy for us to get wrapped up with social media and everything like that. As you should be want to be this huge, star and making this huge following. And there's nothing wrong with that. Don't get me wrong. But it's so easy to think that's what you need to do to be successful, right? But I know deep down, like, I'm here to help those who are here to do that so they can, right? And by doing that, I'm actually reaching the masses, just not directly, right? It's indirectly.
What is what is something that you're most proud of in your life? And it can be from now or it can be from 20 years ago. It really doesn't matter. But what is it that you're most proud of in your life?
What am I most proud of? I think just even recently, I'm proud of how I've transformed, I guess, in the last few years, right? Like, I really, like, when I say that mindset manifestation changed my life, it really did. Because, like I said, I used to be, let me see your manager. Like, people were scared of me, like, all the things. Like, the way that I've transformed and been able to flip my mindset has completely changed my life and the way that people look at me. And then how I'm raising my kids is another thing I'm really proud of, right? And I, kind of always felt like, well, I'm not that, super mom. I'm not like, I don't do all the special little things in the lunches. And like, I'm not, that, you know, being a mom is something I love, but I never felt it was like my whole world, right? Like, that was my first purpose, right? I love my kids to death, obviously. But I love also how I'm raising them to be able to choose their own thing and teaching them emotional intelligence, right? And also, they're teaching me all the time how to be a better mom and how to be more accepting and to show emotion, and that it's okay show emotion and to be vulnerable. And that's uncomfortable for me sometimes, right? When my older one is telling me things that she's dealing with, and being able to be there for her on a different level, rather than just be like, it's okay, honey, it's fine. Like, but really allow her to express herself. And then how can we work through this? And, proud, and just the fact that we went to teacher conferences a couple months ago, and I've never had teachers say this to me, but we walked in and they said, you're doing a really good job. You're raising a really decent, like, good human being. And we were just kind of taken aback, like, us? Like, what? Like, but
Yeah.
I think it's so important to hear those words, because it's so easy, especially in social media, to judge ourselves as parents. When, especially when you're an entrepreneur, and you're working hard and doing all these things and you're inspiring other people. So I think that was a really long-winded answer for what you asked, but those would be the two things that I'm most proud of in my life right now.
As I get older and, I embark on wanting to be a parent myself and a mother, and I think of all the things, all the women around me and their experiences of a mother and just how self-sacrificing it can be. And like you said, there is I mean, I feel like there's judgment out there if you're not doing all of it, and if you aren't a super mum. And then there's also judgment if you are a super mum and
Right.
you are doing all of it. So I feel like we can't win as women. What do you love most about womanhood? So as a mother, who you are as a mother, what you love about being a woman, what is it that speaks to you the most about being the woman that you are today?
I'm going to answer that, but I would just love to say, to anyone that feels that they're judged, because like you said, we can't get it right, right? Like, you're judged either way. Let go of all the judgment. That is another thing I guess I'm really proud of, is no longer judging people. Like,
Wow.
I no longer have judgments about people. My sister and my husband would make fun of me because I don't hate with them anymore. Like, when I'm just random, like, it doesn't feel good to me anymore. So that's another thing, is really letting go of judgments of other people, other women, other moms, and just understand that everyone is doing the best they can at the end of the day. Right. And so, almost like putting your blinders on, because I've come to the place now where I'm like, I don't give a crap what anyone else thinks about me. I really don't. And that's something that's difficult for a lot of people to overcome, right? So that's just, I wanted to just say that really quickly. There's certain things that you can do. A lot of it's self confidence, where, like, your truth. At the end of the day, you're doing your best, and that's all that matters, right? What do I love most about womanhood and being a woman? Because I think that we are just so powerful. We are so powerful in learning how to be in that feminine energy and the masculine energy, right? And being able to balance them is so powerful. Understanding that it's okay to be both, right? Like, you don't have to be just feminine, you don't have to be just masculine, right? Like, doing. But being able to be a woman and have all these superpowers, like creation, right? Like nurturing, and then be this badass, business owner, CEO, whatever it is that you want to do with your life, or whatever. If you are a stay at home mom, that's beautiful too, right? Because I couldn't do that. I couldn't be 100% stay at home mom. I would lose my mind. Oh my gosh, they're so powerful. So powerful. So there's power in anything that we do as a woman, and we all have roles to fill. And I think we really are. I mean, I love this, but I really do feel we're the glue that holds everything together. And I think that's so magical and powerful, that also we can be vulnerable at the same time. So it's like we get to be powerful, but we also, like, more women, I think, need to learn how to be in that receiving mode too at the same time, right? Like, letting things into your life and letting others help and letting others take care of you. So, I think there's just something so powerful about being a woman in this world, and really coming together and with your fellow, women to lift each other up, and there's no competition. There's only collaboration.
I love that. Yes, there is no competition, there's only collaboration. It comes up a lot on this show because I feel like we are trained from very young age to compete against each other.
Oh
And
yeah.
often find that it's women don't do what they do for men, really, most of the time. It's because they're comparing themselves to other women that are going to be at the event or other women that are on socials or in
Yeah.
their circles. So there's something really powerful in us collaborating, and I think that the more we separate each other from the sisterhood, the less power we all have. Like
Yeah.
every single person has light, so that's why I love that you just said that, because I think that it's we can all shine on our own, but
Yeah.
it would be blinding if we shine together what our
Oh,
power is
oh,
capable
I
of.
just got chills when you said that. Like,
Mm,
so good, because we all have unique gifts. We all have our uniqueness. And so we can come together, like you said, and shine. I love that so much. That's so beautiful. And really being proud and understanding that even if there's someone that's almost just like you, there's still something different about them. Because like, if you're in this world or whatever with friends or, as a coach, there's things that people are going to connect with me that they may not connect with someone else, or they may not connect with me, but someone else. Like, I have a very dear friend and we almost do the same identical thing, but we have different ways of doing it. Right. But I never feel competition because there's, like, again, as I said before, there's clients at every level for everyone. It's the same thing. There's people that are meant to be with you in some capacity, in some way. And if we all came together and we could just unite and lift each other up, oh my gosh, would this world be a powerful place, right?
yeah. And you're so right. You attract who you're meant to attract. People will gravitate towards you regardless of how many people are doing the same thing. And I think that, it's come up for me and it's come up for, my girlfriends or even people that I've spoken to on the podcast or just random women where they're like, well, there's already someone doing that in that space. How would I compete? And I'm like, but it's not about competing. Again, it comes down to it's not about competing. The more of us are doing this work, the more of us that are, asking the other woman, I'm here to help you become a beacon of light.
Yeah.
The more of us will actually like be able to raise up and become successful and get to where we're trying to go, rather than being in competition with the woman that's next to you that's doing something similar. But like you said, we all have so many different things to offer. So really it's not competition. It's
It's
it's not competition at all.
Yeah, and I'll never forget, like, one of my very first mentors when I started off on this path was like what she said. At the time, there was only 7 billion people on this world, but now there's over 8 billion people in this world. And she was like, there's only one of me. I can't help 8 billion people. So every single one of us is needed. Every single one of you that has the call, that has that feeling to help someone is needed. Like, there's not enough of us right now to help all the people in this world that want and are ready for our help. And there's always an abundance. We're never in lack, right? There's always an abundance. And no matter what, we will all be okay in our, whatever it is, of finances, or, if that's your main concern, right? There's no lack. There's always abundance.
Yeah, and we will all thrive.
100%.
Elizabeth, this conversation has been so heartwarming. Such a pleasure. Please tell the listeners where they can find you and how they can work with you.
Yeah, so you can find me on social media under my name, Elizabeth Plancon. My handles are all the same, just my name. My website's elizabethplancon.com, and you can reach out to me in any one of those ways.
Amazing. So, if you are interested in connecting with Elizabeth, I will include in the episode description and across socials links and ways you can do that. So, if you haven't already, head on over to Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram and follow the Skin I'm In podcast to be the first to know when new episodes drop. Elizabeth, thank you so much for being a guest on the Skin I'm In podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a joy.
I feel like this conversation was just meant to happen for me in this moment, and connecting with Elizabeth was no mistake. I have felt a yearning the last 12 months, a calling to deeply excavate and try new healing modalities, an instinctive nudge to bring to the surface all the trauma and emotional baggage I have been holding in my body that I'm convinced is the reason my skin is not a happy camper these days. It's also interesting to me that skin conditions are the thing that make me feel really grossed out. Like I can't deal with infected skin at all. Whether it's an actual infection or if it's acne, I really struggle with any kind of skin condition. So I get that being granted this lesson is a gift, and it's put me on the path to seek out healing practices I've never heard of in order to heal whatever is going on within that's trying to push out via my largest organ. The more I dig within myself, the more things start to appear in my life. And it's like that for all of us. We all have the ability to follow our guidance, our inner knowing, down the pathway we are meant to walk down and sometimes crawl down because it really feels like crawling sometimes. Or even having to, create a new path altogether because no one's been down there before. And while it may seem like a punishment, every single experience, every wrong turn, every heartbreak, every failure, they are all moments for redirection and inspiration. The more work I do on myself, the more I realize it's not about the universe wanting me to fail. It's the universe believing so deeply in me and giving me the lessons I need to learn over and over again until I learn them, because the divine genuinely believes and wants me to accomplish what I chose to accomplish in this lifetime. Whether we like to admit it or not, or whether we're willing to accept it or not, we all chose this path. We chose our lessons before we came through the portal into Earth School. We forget everything we knew the moment we passed through, which is frustrating, but that's why I truly believe our purpose is to find who we are meant to be in this world, what our gift is, and to find a way to share that gift with others. It feels like it should be more complicated than that, but it's actually that simple. Everyone who is someone that you see on Instagram or social media was meant to be that person, and you're meant to be whoever you are. I love Elizabeth's comment about collaborating instead of competing. I've literally spent my whole life feeling like I had to compete because that's what I was taught. In order to be seen, I had to be someone's first choice, someone else's first choice, right? Not my own first choice. I had to be chosen by someone else. I had to land that hot, successful husband and that job title and the house and all the things that I was taught was what made a woman a successful woman. I was never taught to be myself. My wings were clipped by the women in my family from the day I was born, and they still love to snip away at all my new feathers every time they start to peek out. Now, when I'm told that I'm too much or that I can't speak my thoughts as they come into my head, that I bloomed later than everyone else, or any of the other comments that used to leave me feeling like I wasn't enough, those comments don't actually impact me anymore because I recognize that my light shines differently. And I want to use that light, the light that I have within myself, to help other women light their beacons so that they can shine too. And that no matter how many beacons I light within myself and for others, there is always going to be someone out there who's trying to dim it, to dim my light and to dim yours. Where I used to allow that to happen, I'm no longer willing to, because what I've learned about being a woman, the power that we have, the change we can inspire, the capacity we have to love, nurture, and birth creative ideas, thought processes, and make an impact, the more I fall in love with the process of unlearning all the conditioning and programming I have been fed since I was a little girl to believe that I'm alone, I'm a black sheep, I shouldn't be so loud, I shouldn't be different, that my voice doesn't matter, that I don't have a gift. Well, I'm here to tell you, we all matter. We all have gifts. All our voices count. And the more we come together to help each other grow and spread love and light, the stronger our voices get and the brighter our light shines. So if you're feeling like you're not enough, that you don't matter, that you have no gifts, let this be a reminder that you do matter, that you do have gifts, and know that whether I know you or not, I see you, I feel you, and I am rooting for you. With gratitude and grace, have a wonderful day.